did you post the EDPT thing?
I had
for
the
the question.
Okay, we're live on YouTube, and it's public, I guess. So, I guess this is our special.
Sweet.
We will hang out week of EDPT. And there's a lot of questions to go through. So, feedback on you. So the first one is regarding Alan Kay. Opening up the questions. My internet's super duper slow. One second. Sorry.
What's going on right now?
I'm just waiting for the question to load.
For the question to load?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you want us open it?
The questions?
Yep.
Yeah, I got it.
All right. Can you read the first one by Alan Kay?
Sure. So it says, Revealing the Elephant by Alan Kay. The author compares not having the necessary media as to living in the Dark Ages. Do you believe the quality of education the students receive is altered by using less or more technology? What's he saying? What's he really saying about technology? Did everyone hear that?
Not quite, but
No, not really.
reading it.
Okay.
Wei. Where is he?
He left for some reason.
Technology problems.
He can't see that, Daniel. He left.
Oh. How do we get him back?
You probably just clicked the link again in the other one. In the chat that we had.
Mm-hmm.
Well, while we wait, how are your websites, by the way? How do they go?
They're okay, I guess.
Let's all be really nice and have everybody evaluate nicely. Where are we supposed to post them? There's like a rubric?
Are we still recording?
Yeah, we're still live.
Oh, okay, great. Does live mean we're recording now? Because I thought.
He joined the video.
He's back.
Hi, welcome back, Wei Wei.
What the hell happened?
I don't know.
You were gone. You left.
I'm sorry, my computer died. It couldn't handle the YouTube.
That's funny.
Okay, can we start from question 1 again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you see this, Sam, my computer died. Okay. So the first question is regarding the article by Alan Kay, which is also the same article Daniel read last week. So the author compares uh, not having the necessary media as regarding to technology, as he refers it to as living in the dark ages. Do you believe the quality of education that the students receive is altered by using more or less technology? And what's he really saying about technology? Daniel?
Yeah, well, definitely we've changed, or like the way students learn today have changed with technology. In the article, I remember he was saying like he was comparing like technology though to junk food, so I kind of got the impression that he was just like, okay, it's a nice thing to have, but it's not very useful. It's more of like a gimmick. I do think that it's very evident that today, if you have like a student in elementary, there's smart boards in the class, there's all sorts of technology implemented into learning. Um, And so, without a doubt, it's for sure changed. It's for sure different. I think it's for the better too. I think students are, having a better time learning, two sorts of things. They can write, but they can write online, like writing with a blog. Um, and I think it's beneficial because I never had that, and like making my website was a nightmare.
Oh yeah, we have to mark that later too.
Yeah.
Working each other's. I think it's based off of the class list, right?
Yeah.
You do
Yes,
it
it's
to above and yourself.
All right, back to the article.
Yeah.
Jasmine, what do you think?
I think there was a definite shift in education with technology, but saying to the extent that they're in the dark ages and you're to a disadvantage, I wouldn't agree with that. So you can't still adapt. So yeah.
All right, Jen?
Yeah, like he makes arguments based off of like comparing books into television and saying that television, like you're learning something, but it's not it's not like what you should be learning. It's not the most
Yeah.
important things to be learned. And he talks about how basically like television is entertaining, but it's not like the best way to learn. And I don't know, I don't necessarily like I agree and I disagree with him because I do believe that a lot of television shows have a bias towards them. So I think that like whenever you watch a documentary on something, there's always some form of bias. But I do feel like that you can use technology, especially television, as a way of integrating education into the classroom.
Cool. Jessica?
Well, I just think in general, like, obviously he has a very strong opinion, but I think that it's sort of null and void for people to continue to, like, obviously everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I think the fact of the matter is we are living in a world where technology is just integrated into every aspect, and by, let's say, fighting it and saying, making claims and whatever is just going to, like, hinder, especially if you're a teacher, like hinder your students, whatever, what Jen was saying about like using media in the classroom and things like that. And those students are going to be at a disadvantage compared to their peers who are utilizing it in the best way. So I think like regardless of what he's saying, the point is like we are now in a world where technology is integrated completely, and therefore instead of like choosing, we should just be making informed choices on how to do it the right way and use the right sources and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm. And just a point to add to that, I think that talking about how like what you said that technology like he basically, like I said.
Did you guys hear that?
What?
Go on.
Yeah,
Sorry,
like
continue.
I feel like technology it's like junk food kind of thing. But if you think about it, like the printing press, like there was a there were people that were regulating who could like what people were actually reading. So he's saying that like you're reading the most important stuff, but at the end of the day there were people that were determining what people were actually reading, whereas the internet, it's like anyone can post something So you can, like, there's no real regulation in terms of what people are actually reading. It's more of free information. So in that way, I feel like that like internet and the television can be good. Like in terms of, for example, like things like when in Russia, when Russia went into the Ukraine, there was like a lot of social media talking about what was actually happening over there. Whereas like if you were if there was no such thing as the internet, we would have a very limited knowledge of what was really going on, you know?
Point.
I think too though, like the question about like if the quality of education differs, that it depends on how old you are. Like I definitely think that it would be more of an issue, like it's more of a disadvantage when you're older than it is when you're in elementary school grades. Because when you're older, like now, if I didn't have a computer, like I would be at a serious disadvantage of like time, I guess, and about my research capacities, even though there's computers available for you to use. It's still not the same as like having your own and having your own resources, whereas if you're in elementary school, what you're learning is a little bit more basic, and sure, like how you're learning it can differ, but it's still, I don't know, I feel like your post-secondary education or your high school education is like more significant than elementary school, so if you don't have the technology, it's like more of an issue than it is when you're in elementary school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Do you guys have any comments on what the author is really saying about technology in the classroom?
What?
I thought it was interesting, like talking about the different types of literature that's out there, and like how many people actually read scientific literature, and how many people actually like are able, like have the education and like the reading skills to actually understand like a complicated scientific or argumentative essay. Because I didn't realize that the numbers were so low. Mind you, it was like 1996, but still. But it makes sense that it needs to be like, I guess, integrated into our culture to be perceived as like more important to our daily lives. Otherwise, no one's gonna like really ever get around to learning a lot about it, or to like becoming. Most people probably won't become fluent in that type of reading, I guess.
Yeah. And in the article, he also says something like, 50 years ago, I had the experience of growing up in a community that desired real music for all and found a way to make it work. So he's kind of saying, it sounds like that using books is the real way to learn, and that using technology is not a real way of learning, and I don't really agree with that. I think that like you can definitely learn more actually from the internet at this point than you can from books.
I think it's a great point though, because like also in the article was written in 1996, so like technology was really like a gray area. So I think more people back then were more inclined to say like, oh, computers can't really help students. Also, like the software that was available was very, very limited. Most of the things that were available, I think, were like games. Maybe you could do something productive with like Paint, but not really, right? 1996, so like Windows 95, right? There's not much you could do with that besides like Word. So I think he has like an old mindset, and he was saying like, oh, if you like really need to study, or if you want to learn, or students should learn, they should do it, you know, the old conventional way, and not use this foolish product, which could be like a computer, for their studies, because it's essentially useless. It's just a gimmick. It's just a toy.
Okay. Cool. Good points, everyone. We're going to move on to the next question now. This is regarding the readings from the textbook. So the chapter 7 of the textbook talks about writing with technology, with examples like word clouds and mind maps, which we did earlier in this class.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find these helpful when you guys were in elementary school? And if so, why? Let's start with Shannon. So did you ever find word clouds and mind maps useful?
We definitely did mind maps when I was in school, like drawing, connecting and stuff, your ideas, and linking your ideas, especially when we were doing, like preparing presentations, kind of like before you put them on first award presentations, Emily, are doing essays too. You kind of like, they wanted you to like link your first essay or your first paragraph had your main idea, and then have your smaller ideas like coming off, and then connect them kind of throughout. But not the word cloud.
Jessica?
Yeah, so I mean, for me personally, like the whole idea of the mind map is something that I do to study for psych. It's really, there's so much information that you're internalizing, but then when you actually want to test yourself, going through like 70 pages just gets kind of convoluted again. So after you've studied, it's useful to make this mind map where you're kind of like looking at the keywords, reflecting on the concepts, and like it's more of an organized way to study after you've gone through all the dense material. So it's like drawing on the same concept. But in terms of the cloud, no. And I can understand why as a visual representation that might be interesting, but I don't really see how useful it would be in terms of like, I don't know, it actually sticking. But that's just my opinion. I've never used it though. So.
Yeah, you're talking about like Wordle, right? I think it's more like a fancy-looking program than it can actually help. I don't know. I don't want to say that because other people might have strong opinions about Wordle. But like definitely when I was in elementary school, we never used computers. Just point and simple. If we had like a Venn diagram to do, you do it on paper. If you have mind maps, you do it on paper. But like really, we never even did those. I can't even recall.
Yeah, I don't remember.
That I can remember exactly. I think it could be beneficial. We did in class. We downloaded that software, Inspirations 9, and it was really cool. But in terms of the article lists like other things too, like blogs, which could help students. I think that would be more beneficial than Wordle, for instance.
Okay, Jen, what do you think?
I think I kind of agree with what everyone's been saying. I kind of see the positives and negatives to word cloud and mind maps. But ultimately, I do think that these are just tools that, like learning tools that many students can either choose to use or they can choose not to use. And I think that every student should have exposure to using it just so that you know, like what works best for one person might not work best for another, but someone like, for example, mind maps aren't, like, they're helpful for me, but I don't ever use them when I'm studying. But I'm sure that other people do, and they find it very helpful, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And Jasmine?
Yeah, so basically everyone's saying that you would, as a student, you experience it. I did too. But as a teacher, I use it all the time. It's not only good to organize our ideas or brainstorm ideas, but as well as activating prior knowledge to our students. So oftentimes, instead of me giving them the answer, I would tell them, oh, who is this, or what does this make you think about, and then write it on the smartboard and then organize a mind map. So it would activate their prior knowledge, and then you would move on from that and scaffold their learning. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah?
Okay. Yeah, it does. It feels like we all agree that they can be useful, but it might need to be tailored.
But it's not
to
for
students.
everyone, because we're all different learners, right? So.
Right. Cool. Okay. We'll move on to the next question. It's called Literacy on the Web by Nancy Deal. And Nancy says that teachers nowadays need to be literate with computers no matter what subject they teach. It could be gym, math, science, or anything. Do you think evolving technology could change the traditional teacher-student relationship, as in it used to be a very personal relationship between the student and the teacher, but with technology, do you think this relationship changes? We can start with Dan. What do you think?
I didn't hear you. Me?
Yeah, you.
Okay, perfect. I think, you know what, I don't think it's becoming less personal. I think it's becoming more personal. Definitely. I recently went on my old high school website and I saw teachers now are posting, their own websites where students go and post their assignments. And not only that, you can send your professor a message that could be public or private. So I think it's definitely more personal than it was in the past, because now instead of just going to class, leaving, doing your work on your own, you can go to class, leave, go home, get stuck on a problem, email your professor or chat with your professor and get a response in a very timely manner. So I think it's quite the opposite. I think it's really helping students to do their work and to get a more personal relationship with their professor. Even though it's by online means, but that connection wouldn't happen regularly with in-class times, because most people don't have some people are quite nervous to speak to their professor, some aren't, but I think technology is definitely making it more personal.
Okay. Jen, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Daniel completely. I definitely think that technology is making the one thing that I am a little bit concerned about is whether or not relationships become too personal, which kind of leads to a respect issue on whether there are some students that might, think of them more as a peer than an actual teacher, and that could be an issue. And also in terms of social media, it's a very risky thing to have students in terms of Facebook, because if they find something about you or a picture on you that you didn't want them to see, then it could be a huge issue in terms of regaining their respect.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's right.
On that, I saw a Yak on Yik Yak, the app, last night that was like someone saw their prof on Tinder, which is like
Oh,
Big no-no.
Which
Yeah.
way did he swipe? Just kidding.
Yeah, I think it does change the teacher-student relationship too, because it makes it's like the student is almost less dependent on the teacher to teach them things. Like, they don't understand something in class, they don't necessarily have to go to a tutorial or go ask the prof. They can just go home and Google it or go home and YouTube it. And teachers have that same advantage. Like, in class, they can be like, okay, like, I'm going to teach you part of a concept, and now I want you to go home and watch this YouTube video and learn how to do it yourself. So it gives them almost more freedom, and it gives students more independence to learn in different ways. Like, if they're better at listening or better at reading or better at seeing something, I guess, there's more opportunities available to them. So I think it is just more of a free way of teaching, I guess.
yeah.
Okay.
And whether or not, just whether or not teachers should be technology literate. I agree. I think that they should be, because I think that especially with the times that we're in right now, I think that a lot of students are using technology for social media purposes and personal purposes, and I think that teachers should teach students how to use them for other purposes other than just personal gains in terms of social media.
Jasmine?
Definitely. I don't know how I feel about teachers and students being friends on Facebook. I personally, after my stage, a lot of students added me, and then there was this dilemma. Do I add them? Do I not add them? Because at the same time, you do grow attached to them in a way, and as a teacher, the most rewarding thing is seeing that growth, especially when they're almost adults. So there's always that gray area where you wonder, right? Do I not? But then again, even if you have your Facebook open to your students, it should always be, completely 100% student friendly, because they can still Facebook you even if you're not friends with them, right? Mm-hmm. And for student teacher literacy, I would say they have to know how to use technology, because so many schools integrated in their curriculum, especially to communicate with parents. That's now one of the greatest ways. Lots of parents email you now. They don't go to parents-teacher meetings anymore. So if you cannot use a computer or internet, you cannot communicate with the parents essentially, which is one of the biggest issues in education is that support system at home.
Right. Shannon.
I mean, like I haven't said anything yet. I think that everything's kind of been said. However, I think in terms of social media, I think it's just the most safe to have like a like not do it at all, because obviously, like as Jen was saying, as a teacher, I'm relating this to like I'm a staff at a camp. So, and you're a pseudo teacher in that realm, and then after camp, when campers add you and stuff, like to start adding some and then not others, or like it just the lines get so blurred, and I think that because there are so many issues with things like that, then it's sort of better not to get mixed up. But in general, teachers being technology literate I think is crucial. And I just know, reflecting on my best teacher relationships, both in high school and pleasant interactions with professors or TAs, it has always been those that are, checking their email, responding, like being comfortable with communicating outside of class. And I think that means being comfortable with technology. And the traditional sort of one-on-one communication is slowly being obsolete, when students are writing essays like at 2 o'clock in the morning and blah, blah, blah. It's definitely very useful.
I would also say, like, for social media, that like for Facebook, like teachers, I think it's a good thing. Like I definitely have some of my teachers, mostly from elementary school, on Facebook, but like you can set your privacy settings so that they can't view all of your profile. But honestly, like if you have things on your profile that you don't want your students to see, you probably shouldn't put it out there anyways. But I would also say that I think the teacher-student relationship is going to be changed because of social media, because it's going to mean that teachers have to be like even more available. Like they have to be, it's almost like they have to be engaged in like online 24 hours a day. So once they leave the school, like their job hasn't ended, which I think is like good and bad. Like it's almost good for students because they have access to their teachers after school. But I would say it's almost a negative for the teacher because you don't have any like legit downtime.
It's definitely true. I agree.
I think that's true though.
What?
Sorry.
I have no idea what you just said.
I just said I think that's true for all parts of life though. I think that nowadays it's like it's not a 9-to-5 job. It's like once you get out of your work, you're still required to be available through email and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of times with like people who work in like not executive positions, but people who work corporate and stuff, like you would have a couple of your colleague friends on Facebook, but you probably wouldn't I probably wouldn't extend my supervisor a friend request. And you also have like an independent work phone, so at the end of the day, like yeah, you're supposed to be available on your work phone and using your work phone during the day, but if you needed to be contacted, you could also just turn your work phone off. Whereas Facebook, there's no division between personal and like a work Facebook. It's all one.
Well,
so
actually, you can make a different Facebook for that.
I saw that they came out with that this week, didn't
you? You can have like a teacher profile. I can have like Ms. Jasmine Perks, and I only add my students on that profile. And then we can even create like a group where I can post like assignments and homework or Q&As or whatnot. So.
Cool. We're going to move on to the next. We have 3 questions left, and I think we've been talking for about 20 minutes. So I'm just going to
just move on.
Yeah, maybe just everyone talk for the next, like, I know like there's a lot of good opinions, but maybe everyone just say like 10 seconds or 20 seconds for the next 3 questions, and then we can keep it under half an hour. The entire.
Perfect.
Very cool.
Cool.
Okay, so the next question is desktop poetry projects, and basically the author here had students between age 11 to 18 collaborate to work on a creative project together. So it was a big project, but the authors reported positive effects on these students working together. Do you think collaboration during schoolwork is beneficial to your learning experience? And if so, how? Let's start with Shannon.
Yeah, definitely think collaboration is a good way. A lot of the times when I'm like doing a presentation or doing a project, like I find it beneficial. Like my thinking process works the best when I have someone to bounce ideas off of. So if I like, rather than be forced to write it down, if I have to say it out loud and I have to like answer questions, kind of, it's definitely like lets me form my argument or form my thoughts better. Also, like collaboratively, like Google Docs has been like one of the greatest resources for me in university, especially for group projects, just because you can all be working on it at once. So that's like another version of collaboration, I guess, that I think is like very beneficial for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Jess?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this, like, for example, is a good, like what we're doing right now is, hello, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, 1 second, sorry, it's just spazzing out.
Okay, Jen, what do you think? Is collaborating good?
Really quick, I completely agree with Shannon 100%. I think that collaboration is really good, and I know personally I rely on it heavily. That's the best way I learn. But I do think that there are people that need to learn how to properly collaborate with people, and that some people do work best alone, which is totally understandable, but then there are also some people that can overwhelm the group with their ideas, or they can, you know, just kind of or be a free rider, or like all those things that even the professor talked about in one of his articles. So I think that that's one thing that people need to be aware of.
Okay.
Yeah, so is everything fine? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so just going on what Jen was saying, like they did a famous kind of experiment, I guess. It's called the Jigsaw Classroom, where they were looking at collaboration and like the most effective way in doing this, and eliminating the fact that in group projects there are going to be some people that pull their weight and other people that don't, and blah blah blah, is that they kind of separated kids and they all had different tasks, and then they would come together and so everybody represented like a section, and it proved to be so cohesive, and then that way you get all the added benefits of, you know, other people's ideas and whatever, but everybody is taking responsibility and learning how to contribute instead of just sitting back and doing nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Jasmine?
Speaking of Jigsaw, that's interesting because we actually do a lot of Jigsaw activities in education. As students, we always do Jigsaw because it forces you to do the work, right? You're dependent on your peers, so it forces you not only like to have responsibility on that part, but it forces you to do it because or else it doesn't work out. Also for collaboration, it's really great because question of strengths and weaknesses. A lot of times you're going to pair a weaker student with a medium student and a medium and a strong student together, so it facilitates the learning process for them. And just activities in themselves are more engaging and more fun when you're doing it with some partner than doing it on your own. It's also less intimidating as well. Let's say for the writing process, a lot of times I'll do like, in teams write a short story together. Instead of writing on their own like 400 words, it's like 200 each, right? So it balances out. But at the same time, there are dangers with like, you know, couch potatoes, people not doing their work, or just people that have different learning styles and they just don't like working with people. But then again, there's always ways to adapt.
Right. Daniel? Oh, is he here? Nope. All right,
he
next
left?
question. Next question. Perfect. Just kidding. So, yeah. So the next article is called Scaffolding for Struggling Students by Sarah Hadger and Glenn Bow. So the authors here suggest using blogs in the classroom for a variety of reasons, and one of the main reasons is to include students who lack the proper reading skills. Do you think high schools should incorporate blogs for students to answer questions?
Hi, welcome back.
Welcome back.
Yeah, my computer decided to crash.
All right, maybe we just have Dan have just really quickly for the last question. What do you think? Is collaboration helpful?
Yeah. So and like the article too, they had like 62 eighth graders to collaborate in different ways, and I think that amount was maybe too much, but definitely if you work in groups, it's known to work. It's known to be a fact. If you work in groups, you can do much more than you can do alone. And collaborating with one another teaches you different. It teaches you ways to interact with people. So it's not only getting the work done, it's, finding out how to treat people, how to work with other people, what to do if something goes wrong. So definitely beneficial to do. There's other people that would take advantage of it, but there's many more people I find that truly do better with it.
All right. Cool. All right. So just really quickly for Dan, so the author of the next article wanted the students of the classroom to do blogs, mostly for students who lack the necessary reading skills. Do you think high schools should incorporate blogs for students to answer questions for students who lack the necessary reading skills? Dan.
Yeah, but I think they're already doing it as we speak. They're doing it in elementary. I would assume for sure they do it much more advancedly in high school. Blogs, it's a great way for students to write and to use technology at the same time, as well as teachers can verify, like Sam, for instance, if the student did his or her work, with a date stamp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jasmine? Jasmine?
I think blogs is a good idea, but I don't know how would you actually integrate it, which is what I don't know how you would actually integrate it within the classroom. Like that's my question. Can you just start the class with that?
Whoa, it's really messing up.
Do we keep going?
I'll say that I just think in general, there's so many innovative ways to help students, and this that was done, and the author is suggesting it. I think why not? Everybody is different, and your students or face different challenges and whatever. And trying anything out, even if for a class you try this blog and it proves beneficial, then great. And if it doesn't, then look at other ways. It just goes along with what I was saying earlier, that we live in this very fast-paced, technology integrated thing, and trying to fight it is useless. So why not try and be ahead?
That's so loud.
Yeah, what's that noise?
Really, it's hard to hear the background noise from someone.
Weird to hear.
Yeah, I agree with Jessica. I think that blogs, I think that blogs are really good, but I think that blogs are only good for mature students. I don't think that just any type of, I don't think that it would be beneficial for, a younger student. Just because I think that it would, I don't think that they would, I mean, maybe, I'm saying that maybe, grade 3 and under. I don't think that grade 3 or grade 3 students would really understand how to really use a blog that well. Maybe they could do the basics of it, but I think that in terms of if you use a blog like we do in terms of collaboration, if you have an assignment and you basically post a blog and say okay, if you guys have any questions, just post on this blog, or if you guys collaborate with each other, I think it's really beneficial.
Agreed.
Jasmine, there's 2 of you.
I think that like blogging can be beneficial, especially, and same with tweeting, especially for students who are shy and like who have a question or have something to say but are like intimidated by being in front of like a lot of other real life people, I guess. I think that like a lot of times people are more comfortable on the internet than they are in real life. But I also think that's like a double-edged sword because a lot of the times, like I find with like Facebook groups or like Facebook chats, when people disagree, they often say things that they don't mean or they wouldn't necessarily say online. They say them over text, but you wouldn't actually say that in real life. So I think that it's kind of like both. But as to like incorporating them into traditional school projects, like I don't really know how you would like incorporate like. I guess you can incorporate like iPads or something into a presentation.
Yeah.
But I don't know about other traditional school projects.
Yeah. I agree. I think that blogs can be like they can be definitely a double-edged sword. But if you use your argument towards bullying, I agree that it can be used as a cyberbullying tool. But I also think that could be good for the teacher because a lot of cyberbullying is done on private social media that teachers don't have access to. So if you do see cyberbullying on one of the blogs that you post, I think that that's a really good way of monitoring it and approaching that student and hopefully being able to stop it. But I agree. I think that I think it comes with maturity and also comes with learning. Like you have to learn how to use a blog properly. You can't just like post a lot of random things. Okay.
Do we do the last one?
Yeah. All right. So the last question. An author talking about an advanced silhouette. So it's basically just like a silhouette where you have your shadow copied on the wall, but it's advanced because you put it into a computer software to add words into it. Do you believe that incorporating technology in traditional schools is helpful or harmful? Let's start Shannon.
Wait, I'm sorry. I'm trying to read it.
Okay. Take your
Is
time.
it posted on the side one?
It is. It's the last question.
It's not letting me scroll down. Wait, somebody else go. I'll go after. Second.
All right. Jessica, maybe?
For sure. I think it's just exactly what we were saying before. Like, technology can be an amazing tool that can facilitate a lot of great things, but it could also be used in the wrong way, and then there's more room for people to hide behind it, and, you know, instead of positive comments, potentially negative comments and this and that. So I think it's great that with the silhouette, it was beneficial, but in a general sphere, you can't really generalize because in general it can be wonderful if used in the right way, or it can be really harmful if it's used in a malicious way.
Jen?
Yeah, I agree too. I think that, yeah, I agree completely with what Jessica said. That basically what we talked about before in terms of incorporating technology into the school is very helpful. And I think that a lot of students can benefit from it, and I also think that it's a double-edged sword and that a lot of students can also find it really challenging, and you run the risk of cyberbullying, but I also think that it's almost necessary because it's like the new age, the new way of learning.
I also think that it's beneficial because if you're doing traditional school projects with technology, like chances are you're going to have to use that in your job. So it just like teaches you younger how to more fully like incorporate that when you're working. Yeah.
I also agree. I think it's beneficial, but like the thing that you stated, you said, would it be beneficial in like traditional traditional classwork? So maybe in I don't know. I think it could be beneficial in all types of classwork. If you think about it, like English class, you could use it. Math class, people are using. Teachers are now drawing on smart boards and having their saved their saved how do you call it? They're saved, not chalkboard, but like basically all the work that they wrote on the smartboard, having it sent to their students. So I do think that it is beneficial. I think most teachers are like maybe taboo on like technology because it's always seen as negative in many different circumstances. So also the video that we saw in last class, the TED Talk about technology not changing, how schools have been using the same system, the teaching system for the past 100 years. So that's one of the reasons I think people still have a negative connotation to it, but I do agree that it is beneficial in whatever the teaching is.
All right, and lastly, Jasmine. Oh, she has her mic turned
Oh,
on.
just the type.
How do you,
All right, so I guess that's...
We're done, yeah?
Yeah? All right, I don't know if
do you
she's
want us to do
connected.
coding together?
Sorry?
We don't have to. We could do it separately.
Yeah, I mean, we could do it on Google Chat instead of
Yeah.
Hangout.
I'm probably not gonna do it right now. So
Yeah, I gotta catch up. Huh.
Yeah, for sure. Let me just stop this broadcast and save it. 1 second.
Yeah.
So wait, but we also have to post our website thing, right, to get evaluated?